Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
All right, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Jack.
And this week we are discussing a foreign film by the name of 1898, Our Last Men in the Philippines, which is a mouthful of a movie title.
Yeah, it is. I don't remember what the Spanish name for this movie is.
I would not even try it because I would fuck it up beyond all belief.
Yeah, you're right. It would alienate the Spanish-speaking listeners we have.
I was going to say, did you watch this English dub or did you watch it in its original Spanish?
Original sub.
Did you enjoy doing that? Because I know you were really big on your Duolingo.
See?
Ah, I see. It's already paying off for you.
Los gatos in mi pantalones.
Anyways, did you say the cat in your pants?
The cat's in my pants.
Okay.
Yeah, get it right.
Sorry. I haven't done Spanish since college, so.
Stardo.
And didn't you have Armando for Spanish?
Yeah. But I failed it the first time, so then I took the course that his wife taught.
I took the first level class. So at South Dakota, there was this professor we had. His first name was Armando. And I did not learn a lot of Spanish in that class because we had this habit of anytime we didn't want to work, we would just ask him about food in Mexico. And he would go on a half-hour tangent just talking about food. So, needless to say, we pulled that one out pretty frequently.
Yeah. Spanish is a beautiful language.
It really is. It's got more flow to it than English does, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that as someone who only knows English. I did get I got Babbel instead of Duolingo, and I tried doing German, and then I figured out that German's really fucking hard.
I mean, how hard is it? I thought they just created new words by combining two existing words.
It has more to do with their grammar that's difficult, but also they have ridiculously stupid long words. But you know what my favorite word in German is?
What?
It's ambulance, which is Krankenwagen.
Krankenwagen. Isn't hospital Krankenhaus?
I think so, yeah. Anyways, it's kind of a shame that this movie, I don't know about you, but I genuinely really enjoyed this movie. And I thought it was a very good movie. And it's a shame that it has such a stupid title that's long. You get bored reading the title. At least, as soon as I see a hyphen in a movie title, I'm I don't want to fucking watch this shit.
Yeah, when it's got a name the year was 1889, but we had soldiers that were hidden in a church away from the Philippine rebels.
They could, it's why couldn't they just find a one word, really catchy thing that is just the Alamo? It's something like that,
2012, the year the Shatari invaded the Earth, and we had to have the Avengers fight them off.
Jesus fucking Christ. Um, but yeah, like, what was your like initial impressions of this film?
I liked it. I liked it. As simple as that is, you know. Yeah, it was a bit long in the title, but I didn't actually know about this chapter of history.
Are you talking about like the Spanish Empire colony thing, or just like the fallout of the Spanish American War?
Well,
Oh,
this particular battle, the fact that they hunkered down in a church for 12 or 11 months.
yeah, I didn't know anything about this particular battle either before this movie existed, but I was very familiar with like the Spanish American War. But the thing is like the thing I appreciate, like, there's little things in this movie that, as an American who understands like American history, there's little throwaway lines or little comments that are made that give me the context clues of like, oh, like this is other stuff that's happening. Because they mentioned, they're like, do you think that $20 million is going to the families in Havana or whatever? But early on in the movie, they're like, there's reports of the American Navy outside of Manila. We're on our own, which is kind of the whole premise and setup for them hunkering down in the church. Um, but if you like look at the history of just like the Spanish American War, we fucking annihilated the Spanish Navy in Manila Bay. Just like like a really unfair fight, if we're being honest. Um, and the other part of it too is like, I appreciate the acquisition of like the Philippines and Cuba is like, especially being American, is always taught from an American perspective of like, yeah, we fought the Spanish, and then in our like peace deal we bought these two countries, and it really kind of highlights the disparity in the power of countries, because a big premise of this movie is the Filipinos who have spent 400 years fighting against the colonization of the Philippines from the the Spaniards, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're changing hands to the Americans, and it's like, no, like we don't accept this shit. Like,
You didn't ask us.
cool story, you change uniforms, we still don't accept. you know
Yeah.
but yeah, like from the American perspective, it's like, yeah, they sank one of our ships and then we got Cuba and the Philippines out of it. And it's a really interesting examination. Just like, I love seeing this bit of history because we are seeing like the downfall of a colonial empire, and it's like a very early version of what we would see happen with like Britain and France when they gave up a bunch of their colonial holdings in like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, the decolonization of the late 1800s and the 1900s.
I will say, God, I lost my train of thought there. It also kind of puts into perspective of like, I think this movie does a good job. Like, there's not a ton, almost, there's very few like Spanish American war films. And this is not a Spanish American war film, or it it's close to being one, but it really isn't. It's adjacent to that conflict, but seeing like who we were, I don't know. It's weird seeing like in a formal army because I feel like we always look at like the Spanish American War as uh like native Cubans versus like Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders, and that's kind of like the end of the story. Versus like you know we see like no these like troops from an actual like empire, like no different than like British soldiers basically.
Yeah, the Philippines, man, it's wild history.
I think it's also interesting like in this time frame that like it's still a time frame where it's like people join the military and they like get all their shit and they're deployed and have like zero training, because that's like one of the earliest scenes is them doing like target practice in the Philippines. They're like, oh, they've never shot a gun before, but they've been carrying them around for like 20 minutes in this fucking movie.
Here's your gun. Now go fight for Spain.
All for a letter of exemplary service to go to the Royal Academy.
I want to be a painter,
I
man.
thought, what'd you think of our painter character being our kind of like main focus throughout this story?
Man, they life really hates an European painter, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're a painter from Europe, you don't things do not bode well for you.
Hey, maybe if you're lucky, you become really famous after you die poor and hungry.
Yeah, maybe.
Or you get your arm chopped off in the Philippines when you're fighting in a pointless war. Or hell, you get kicked out of art school, and then that's a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, what if this was just really the next Hitler, and the fact that he got his arm chopped off saved us from World War I until the whole assassination thing.
Yeah, maybe we just skip the whole separate world wars thing and it just launches us into a 30-year kerfuffle. And
The ker- the great kerfuffle.
the fucking how different life would be instead of like the go-to cliche of having a bad guy with a German accent, he'd have a Spanish accent instead.
Would be, but I mean, Spain did become a fascist country.
Yes, but they were kind of pisswigged by European fascist standards. Weren't they literally the weakest fascist nation?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't participate in World War II. They were busy having like a little civil war pre World War II,
Mm-hmm.
which I always kind of found it interesting that like countries in World War II, like there's some countries that are just like, yeah, no, I'm not participating, and like that was it. Like Spain's like, no, I'm not participating in World War II. Just like Switzerland, like I fuck it, I don't want to play. Like you just get to opt out of fucking World War. Can we do that for like World War III? Be like, I do not consent to being a part.
Hey, third time's a charm, right, Germany?
Something that like genuinely irked me from like the very beginning of this film though was, early on, the church where they have their little fort slash last stand dealio. It's originally occupied, and like basically the whole garrison is murdered minus a couple of people who are taken prisoner. And then the new group of people show up, and there's just one guy that's still there. It's the sergeant. And like this group, the new group of soldiers roll up, and here you have the guy who's a survivor of the massacre just hanging out with a prostitute, and then like he's like the number one shit talker in the entire film, and is always calling like other people like pussies and shit like that, and like questions their loyalty as like soldiers and whatnot, is like, how is there not questions asked of him? Whereas, like, wait a minute, why are you the only guy who's alive, and why are you hanging out with the prostitute whose brother is leader of the resistance? Like, this isn't checking out, my guy. But nobody ever calls him out on it.
Yeah, I found it strange that they didn't kill him. It seems like they just let him hang around afterwards.
Like, not only, yeah, like, you mean like the Filipinos?
Yeah, like it's that was just weird to me how they massacre him and his buddies, and he just chills out, and they allow him to without killing him.
It is an interesting choice. But but then even after all that, he still retains like a leadership position too.
Yeah.
But speaking of Filipino prostitutes, should we debate your waifu, or now or later?
Might as well get it out of the way now.
Would you think of her?
I loved her. She 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 could fix me.
She can fix you.
Yeah.
I did appreciate her as like the in between of the Spanish forces and the Filipino forces.
Yeah. We could all use an intermediate.
But I was confused by the like her being naked and wrapping herself in the like Filipino flag while singing scene. Like, I get she's there to kind of like taunt them and trying to like give them a reason to give up, but that one particular scene seemed a little out of place, I guess.
I'm sorry. What scene she was singing to them?
Well, she sings to them in a lot of scenes, but there's a scene specifically like at night where like she is naked with the exception of wrapping herself in like a Filipino flag and is singing like, and they're all just like gawking, like it's a very kind of long and powerful moment where they're all kind of just like gawking at her, and then they get yelled at like, get back in the church. But I guess I didn't really understand the point of her like being nude in that particular scene. Like, there was a scene a little later on that made way more sense where they're doing propaganda where they're like yelling out over like a cheerleader megaphone kind of thing. And there's literally like basically like multiple people just having like sex out in the open, and their propaganda thing is like, when's the last time you guys got laid, huh? Why don't you give up? You could come join us. And I'm like, gross, but also that makes way more sense. And also, kudos to you. That is a creative propaganda tool right there.
So, this brings me to the question: at what point would you give up?
Would I have given up?
Yeah, at what point is you, an untrained Spanish soldier, would have said fuck it and deserted?
That's hard. Probably if I caught wind of like multiple newspaper, like, here's the thing, is like late 1800s, like producing a newspaper, yes, mass producing papers was easier and more common, But like faking a newspaper is not, I don't think really anybody in the 1800s would come up with that as a tool for getting a fucking fort to surrender.
Right.
Um but like if you take the scene where the colonel who shows up and is like, here's your surrender order, also here's a bunch of fucking newspapers, and they're like, that's an outdated uniform, and it's like, motherfuckers, you've been holed up in this fucking church for like 6 months, okay? Like, also, it's the Philippines. I'm guessing that garrisons in the Philippines probably are not at the top of the list for the newest uniforms. So if somebody approaches the fort who is very obviously not a Filipino and looks Spaniard and hands over a wad of fucking newspapers that says, yeah, this is fucking over, that is the point I'd be like, I'm done.
But yeah, I think I would give up around the New Year mark, where they're all getting fucked up, and it's like, hey, come join the party.
That, or if I was getting to the point where like our main character, we were resorting to an opium addiction to get through the days, that would also be my, I need to give up on this whole last stand thing.
Yeah, admittedly, of all the times to smoke opium, being trapped thousands of miles away from home in a musty ass church with your gross ass companions, no privacy to jerk off. That does things to a man's mind. Vitamin B1 deficient,
I
not
mean,
thinking
you can
properly.
still jerk off. There's just not privacy.
Yeah, I don't like that. But
It's some people's thing.
actually, statement retracted, because if you have the privacy to get smoke pot or god damn it, smoke opium with your priest buddy, you could probably jerk off. But that can only take a man so far. And besides, churches make me uncomfortable, so opium would certainly help.
You start giving a statue of Mary the side eye.
Yeah, like that drawing of Adam and Eve in the Bible is looking mighty wild now. Oh yeah, move the leaf, baby.
I wonder how many rosaries we're going to have to say to atone for this episode.
I'm already going to hell. At this point, I'm just enjoying the ride.
You know, something I liked, which I thought had the chance of being really overdone, was there's probably 4 or 5 different funeral scenes in this, and they're all the exact same, but it really kind of like, it helps highlight the passage of time, but it also like the funerals, because every time, like the first funeral, they're all like prim and proper and like pristine uniforms, and like each funeral you can see them degrade more and more,
Hmm.
and you can also see like not only physically in their uniforms are they degrading, but you can also see like mentally them kind of falling apart each funeral throughout the film. um there are films I've watched with multiple funeral scenes, like Hostiles with Christian Bale, that I'm like, god damn it, why another one? But I didn't get that with this film. I thought it was like a very good tool to gauge the decline of these people.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh my god, he died. This is so tragic. And then like 5 funerals later, yeah, he was a good guy. Fuck it, let's just go.
Also, fuck the survivor sergeant. Like, oh, we should kill the captain's dog. That's not going to be helpful to us. That would not feed all of our guys. Captain dies 2 minutes later, shoots the fucking dog. I was so pissed at that.
I don't know. I'm not gonna judge dog soup, because when you've been
I'm
in there
not
for
judging dog soup, but let's not pretend like him shooting the dog was like an act of desperation to stay alive because they fucking lived for multiple months after dog soup.
I mean, he had to do what he had to do. I mean, the dog was a liability. Uh,
Poor dog. Poor
yeah,
Perro.
poor Pooch. Un pobre perrito.
Un perro es muerto. I think I said that right. Um, at what point would you shoot your waifu?
I wouldn't. Hey, she's singing for me and providing free looks at titties, so who am I to argue with that? She's arguably more helpful than the fucking dog was.
On the flip side to that, it makes me think of when we were watching The Alamo and how like every night Santa Ana would like have his band play a song and then they would get shelled. I could definitely see how if you're starving and like day after day combat and like every single night is this one chick who's like give up and then sings a beautiful song. I could see where the anger and the wanting to shoot her would come in.
You're a monster.
Just remember, Jack. I will not hold the shit bag for you,
Bitch.
but I would cut your arm off for you.
Bitch.
I would lock you in. Can we talk? Why the fuck does this church have a prison cell in the basement?
It's for the Lord.
I
What, your church doesn't have prison cells?
No, not a single church that I've ever attended had a prison cell.
Well, where do you put the fucking heretics?
I fuck it.
Or disobedient altar boys?
It was interesting to see them be like, "Oh, he's a fucking heroin addict. Let's throw him in there and let him detox."
Yeah, and he turns into Gollum. Where he just like fucking rolls around in the mud. Talking about my precious.
I mean, this is one of those things. Like almost every aspect of this film, I find to be very powerful, and even if they're a little dramatic, I believe the representations they give. Like the scene where he's in his prison cell ripping off his clothes because he's going through withdrawals. I'm like, as someone who's never done illicit drugs, because drugs are bad, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Like, I believe I'm like, oh, that's a really shitty experience he's going through. You know? Just like, they did a very good job of portraying like sickness in this film with people getting like sunken eyes and, you know, everything that they were trying to show or exhibit seemed to be done very well.
Yes, this was. Mm, it conveys messages clearly. It's just a beautifully shot movie.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. This film had spectacular cinematography. Like, and it catches you off guard at times. Like for me, the first moment that I was like, "What the fuck?" was they did like a close-up shot of like lighting a match, and you could see like each individual like speck of uh whatever the fuck matches are made of. I can't remember. But
Phosphorus.
like you, what's that?
Is it phosphorus?
Probably. I don't know. Anyways, like you get this close-up shot of like a match being lit, and it's just so clear and crisp. And then it like zooms out into like them lighting torches. Like, I mean, aside from that, like just every everything in this film was beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the ripping your clothes off and being naked in the prison cell. Like, very like great uses of like light and dark in that scene. Um, yeah.
Man, I just want a Filipino waifu.
I'm pretty sure you can just order one. They like, I think the Philippines is part of the like the mail order bride scam
You
scheme.
heard it here first, folks. The Armchair Commanders podcast approves of human trafficking.
It's not human trafficking if you agree to it.
Oh? Okay, a lot to unpack there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to inflict that upon a woman I love being condemned to marry me.
Yeah.
But man,
Or you could just be a politician and like get yourself a Russian bride.
have you seen like those Facebook reels of those Filipina ladies cooking that stuff? Like they're just
No.
frying shitloads of it. Oh man, they're like my favorite Facebook reels. They like cook a whole shitload of food at once and it just looks so delicious.
Okay, well, your Facebook slash Instagram reels are way different than my feed.
What do yours have? Dare I ask?
Mine has fucking like airplanes and shit.
I should have known.
Definitely don't have autism because
Well, is it planes or subs with you or both?
I like both. I also like trains.
Yeah, trains are all right.
I got really mad because probably like a year like not a year or two ago, like when like COVID was in its heat, like the tippy top, and you're bored looking for shit to do. Um, we were renting out the basement of the house of some good friends of ours. And so we're all just sitting around the backyard drinking because we can't go anywhere because it was like week 1 or 2 of lockdowns. And so I forget who had the idea, but somebody had the brilliant idea. It's like, let's all take like an autism cognitive test.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that.
it wasn't even like a BS one either. It was
Oh,
like
I know the one you're talking about. That actually has scientific study behind it.
yeah, it's like a few hundred fucking questions. It takes you like 20-30 minutes to do.
Yeah.
Um anyways, we all take it and my buddy's like, "Oh, I'm air quotes normal. Autism doesn't make you abnormal. It's a spectrum. Let's get that out there." Anyways, my buddy's like, "Oh, I'm like right down the middle." And then his wife is like, "Yeah, I don't have any neurodivergent tendencies or anything like that." And then Miranda's like, "Yeah, I don't have anything." And then my fucking results were like, "Oh, well, you have da 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 da." Like I was just over the line. Like I felt like I'm not autistic, but this test was like, you're a little autistic, John. And I'm like this. So they're like, "What'd you get, John?" I'm like, "This test is fucking bullshit." And like I just walked inside.
And what did you get again?
Oh, I don't remember. It was just some antisocialness, I think.
Mm.
Which would explain why Miranda yells at me to look her in the eyes when we're arguing.
Oh yeah, I don't really like eye contact either.
Yeah, I don't like eye contact. I don't like people touching my head. I like trains.
I like trains.
I like trains. No, no, no. If any of you got that reference, fucking gold star to you.
As diff.
Did you know that ASDF came out with a board game? Not a board game, a card game.
No, I didn't.
It's called Muffin Time. It's fucking fantastic.
You gotta check that out sometime.
It's like, imagine Uno, but every card makes every player's life a living hell. Like, you ever see the meme where it's like, do this or draw 25?
Yeah.
Like, every card is like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, last time we played it, there was 5 of us, and the game lasted like 3 fucking hours.
It sounds like hell.
It is. It's really shows you who, like, if your friendship can withstand a game of Muffin Time, then you're set.
So, what are you drinking tonight?
I have just a little vodka lemonade situation going on.
Vodka lemonade. Okay.
What do you have?
A Bud Latte.
A Bud Latte?
Yeah.
The only time I get Bud Light is when they have their like fall flavors, like when they did their like pumpkin spice Bud Latte.
Oh, yeah. I just got it because it was cheap.
It's still a little early, but like Sam Adams just started releasing their like fall beer packs, and
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, it has Oktoberfest, but they also have like a pumpkin beer that I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Reminded me of like, it tasted the way a pumpkin scented candle smells.
Well, I don't eat candles.
Mark that one for the tisms too.
Candle eater.
I will say though, I'm proud that I can like use the phrase like "rism with the tism" now.
Man, yeah, I took that with a group of people as well, and a lot of them scored pretty high, and I scored like a 31, which is comically low. And then everyone just started saying "fucking normie" and screeching at me.
The other part that makes me believe I might be a little autistic is so Reed the other day is like, yeah, I'm almost done doing up, you know, for our listeners at home, we have a guest who's come on a few times, is a good friend of the podcast. His name's Reed Beeman. He's a comic book artist, and the last time he was on, he did an anime with us called Barefoot Gen, which is about the bombing of Hiroshima. And in that episode, please go check it out. But we kind of went off on a side tangent. We made a joke about like the Enola Gay being like Thomas the Tank Engine with like a face and being like super chipper about committing a war crime. Which it sounds horrible when I am explaining it after the fact, but you know what? Damn it, it was funny in the moment, and I stand by it. But anyways, he sent me a message the other day. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm almost done with Thomas the Enola Gay tank engine plane." Like he's actually drawing this up, and I was like, I forgot about it for a moment, and then when he said that, like, I just have not been able to stop thinking about it. Like, like, I'm so antsy to get this fucking print from him.
Need it.
If, depending on how it turns out, I don't know what you think, but if it turns out as good as I think it's going to turn out, I believe that should be the opposite side to the Armchair Commander's challenge coin we've been trying to think up. I don't know. Might be in bad taste. People might not get it, but
It's fine.
I've been obsessed with it.
Would you say you've been hyper focused with it?
Yeah, I do get hyper focused on things.
I do, but that's just my ADHD.
Yeah. So, how hyper focused have you been on trying to achieve this Filipino wife deal?
Well, I don't even know if it would be classified as a hyperfixation. I think it's like a moral imperative, really, or a biological crusade. But
Okay, I think you're going to have to rephrase that. Biological crusade.
you fucking heard me, and no, I will. I will not rephrase that.
That sounds way more problematic than Thomas the Enola Gay.
I mean, when you get hungry, you eat, right? When you get
Oh my
thirsty,
god,
you
I'm
drink,
going to
right?
shut up.
When you want a Filipino waifu, I to me, it's just like hunger and thirst. Really, it's just that innate drive for survival. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you've ever researched that, Filipino waifu is up there with food and water.
Okay. You know what I really need is like Filipino neighbors again.
Why is that?
So like as a kid, uh across the street from me there was a Filipino family and they were fucking awesome people to hang out with. Like not because they were Filipino, like just independently awesome people to hang out with. The part of them being Filipino that made them awesome people to hang out with was like those guys knew how to throw a fucking party. Like
Oh yeah,
they have some fucking amazing food, dude. I love me some lumpia.
it sounds. What's that?
Lumpia, it's like the Filipino equivalent of like an egg roll, but it's more meat centered, more crispy.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, if you ever have the chance to have a Filipino family as your neighbor, I definitely recommend like getting it on their party invite list because they got some fucking amazing food.
Man, diversity is pretty sweet.
Sorry. The amount of fucking stupid shit I see on TV, like at work, it just ugh.
Oh yeah.
Like, why can't we all get along? Diversity's cool. I like snacks from other places.
Yeah.
How am I going to get snacks from other places if we don't have a diverse workplace?
Exactly.
Right? That's all we have. That's all. If we just frame it like that, like people would not be pissy about DEI.
And that phrase kind of pisses me off
What the
because
what the like DEI is a phrase.
a lot of right wingers use it as a snarl word when they see a person of color succeed, and they think that that's the only reason they got to where they are. Yeah.
But anyways, the Spanish colonization of the Philippines in 1898.
Forced diversity.
Forced diversity.
Oh man.
That should be a fucking t-shirt. Colonization. It's forced diversity. I don't even know how we. Oh yeah, Filipino wife. That's how we got off track.
Way off track. Yeah.
Anyways, for listeners at home, it's the position of the Armchair Commanders podcast that we are for diversity and inclusion and equity. I believe that's the proper words for the acronym. We believe in treating people right, and that is all.
Well, and at least half of us are against colonialism.
I wasn't there, motherfucker. Okay, I didn't get a fucking say.
But I'm trying to think of what else happened in this movie. Yeah, there also that daring little commando raid they did to take out the cannon that was shockingly successful.
That or setting the village on fire.
Man, withdrawals are a hell of a thing.
Something I didn't understand was like one of the parts of this movie that didn't make sense, and I think this is where the movie kind of falls short, is in its combat, because the Filipinos get a cannon, and granted, I'm not like an artillery expert, but just by my observation of it's not a big cannon. It looks like maybe like a 2-pounder or something like that. Like it's a very small cannon. And this fucking cannon is like rocking the church. Like the fucking walls are shaking, dust is falling, all of that. And then one of the people in charge are like, "Oh, it's out of range." And I'm like, how does a cannon that small and out of range have that much of an impact on your fucking building? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but that kind of goes to the other aspect of the combat kind of being the weak point of this film, is like the first time we see the Filipinos charge the church, you'll see multiple times where one of them will get shot, and it's like Django Unchained, where it's a super over dramatic, like they're hooked up to fucking what do they call those things where you're like in a harness and have like guidelines hooked up to you to make you like fly?
I don't know, honestly.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So like you'll see somebody like one of the Filipinos get shot and they will fucking fly back like 10 feet instead of just like dropping to the ground like a person normally would. And that was a little jarring for me where I was like, okay, this is a little overdone, which is a shame because it's like we said earlier, this film is so beautifully shot. There's some great cinematography to it. There's great overview shot, like aerial shots. There's great dialogue. It's a good story. It's a very solid film. And then you have stupid moments like that I'm like, why?
Yes, it was a choice.
What was the thing that like bugged you the most in this movie?
The pacing felt kind of off in a couple places. Like in 30 minutes, we are shown what happened to the last people, them getting to the Philippines, disembarking, going up to the town, meeting the former sergeant there, and shows like a couple minutes of their day-to-day life. Shit hits the fan, they retreat into the church, and then it just goes from there. All within 30 minutes. A lot happens.
And then it kind of like really slows down.
It peters out a bit, yeah.
I liked the relationship that was explored between our painter and uh, the monk, but those scenes definitely slowed the film down even more.
Yeah.
But opium will do that to you.
Yeah. Opium.
Which, speaking of next week's drink of the week, opium infused.
Sponsored by opium.
Brought to you by the poppy fields of Afghanistan.
Yeah, the podcast is just an hour of us being recorded while we're passed out in an opium hole.
The occasional just like deep grunt. No, I'm excited for next week's movie.
Oh?
Well, for our listeners at home, if you've been keeping track, next week is episode 69. 69.
That's the sex number.
It is the sex number. And what better way to mark episode 69, the sex number, than with the greatest stupid war movie of all time, Team America, World Police.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We're talking the War on Terror, baby.
No need to thank us.
Is it a war movie? Probably. I
I count it.
I think it is. I would say it's almost directly a response to, like, you know, our involvement in the Middle East. So why not? If you don't like it, you can get out.
Get out. It's a very biting satire. Man,
I can't wait. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on in this movie?
no. My main thing was at what point would you call it quits, and we covered that.
It was. I liked the ending of the film. Like, there was a very respectful end to it when there could have been a lot of bitterness, and I don't know how accurate that is, but the fact that, like, they left the church and the Filipinos gave them, like, this, like, grand salute and, like, honor guard and all that stuff, like,
very, very honorable.
it was. And I think it wrapped up the film quite nicely, especially with all of the, like, anti-war talk going on at the end, where the dude's, like, throwing away his sketchbook because he can't be a fucking artist anymore because his fucking arm got cut off. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to report you. It's like, you'd be doing me a favor.
I just don't understand the logic. Like, yeah, he was running away. Yeah, he's a coward. I wouldn't call him a coward, but... And
how about that for a moment of quitting? The guy that you send out to get news from Manila comes back to your fort riding a white fucking horse and is like, yeah, this is fucking over.
Yeah.
And you still choose not to believe it.
But then, yeah, but what I was getting at was just how stupid is it that you're trying to prevent him to leave, and you cut off his hand, which he would need to operate a gun. So now you just have a soldier without a hand that can't use a rifle, just chilling, another mouth to feed that can't hold a rifle.
Well, they'd execute him, but they don't execute wounded men.
I guess, but fuck. And
But
there was that one moment of realization that one guy had where he finds that small little bit on page 3 talking about his friend whom the Filipinos wouldn't know the name of getting transferred, was it?
yeah, he got posted to, like, a place he always wanted to be posted.
And yeah, that was the glass shattering realization that guy had that brought it all down, that they couldn't have known about that, so ergo couldn't have faked it.
This is not my fault. Yeah, it is. It is 100% your fault.
Oh yeah. I lost my fucking hand. This wasn't fun for me at all.
Here's your letter of exemplary service. Cool. I'll wipe my ass with it using my one hand. My one non-dominant, non-drawing hand.
Hand that I can't paint with.
How many limbs would you have to have amputated before you would give up on life?
Fuck, yeah. Depends on which ones.
I'd say as long as I had one hand, I would still go through life.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Not trying to alienate our amputee listeners, but...
I mean, I lost some toes when I was 5 and I hate my life. But
I don't think that's related.
no, it isn't, but...
Oh, for a second I thought I'd be like, oh, it is. My life hasn't been the same since Piggy went to market.
He never came back.
Mm. Well, anyways, I think it's about that time we rate this thing. And I don't think there's anything better than opium pipes to rate this.
I agree. Um, I'm gonna give this about 4 opium pipes. And like, it wasn't perfect, but I like what it set out to do. The story it told.
I thought this was so close to being a perfect film, but the combat in it really took me out of it. Um, Beautifully shot, great dialogue, great story, uh, very interesting. The pacing was a little off, so for me, I would give this 4.5 opium pipes.
All right. Let's see what the thermometer says. So there is no thermometer because I guess not enough critics watch this, but it does have a 50% on the audience rating. Now
That
fuck that.
fuck that.
Yeah, it deserves more than that. I'd say
This film was art. Okay,
art. Listen,
art. Look,
Kino.
it's not Saving Private Ryan by any means, but
Oh no.
it is a great film.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Give this a
honestly
watch.
the the acting, like everything about this, if you are a film lover, I think you would appreciate this film just
Al-
from a technical aspect.
Also, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this, but did the ending remind you at all of Jerusalem movie we watched last year?
Kingdom of Heaven.
Kingdom of Heaven. Did that remind you of Kingdom of Heaven?
In the moment, no, but now that you say that, it does bear some striking similarities.
The commander makes a really difficult call to end hostilities with the besieger, and the besieger is surprisingly graceful and honorable to their surrender.
Yeah, except I didn't think that Orlando Bloom in that film was an idiot.
Oh yeah, no, he was much more level-headed than the leadership we saw in this movie. So that therein lies the difference.
Well, that's the problem. Is our Spanish lieutenant was not a blacksmith, and as we learned from Kingdom of Heaven, if you're a blacksmith, you have the ability to run an entire city state.
Yep, and fight better than most soldiers and strategize
and
about
somehow
large unit tactics.
and somehow also understand the finer points of engineering, civil engineering at that too.
You know, I kind of want to just chalk this up to him being bored and reading, but I don't know.
He didn't have anybody to go home to in Spain, so what did he care? You could also tell he's like, he didn't want to give up either. He's like, we have enough ammo for 2 more months, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Anywho, that was 1898, Our Last Men in the Philippines. Join us next week for America.
Fuck yeah!
Chip in your bucko 5, you will. I feel
What
like
would
next
you
week's episode is
say?
just going to be an hour of us fucking just
Memeing.
singing songs at each other.
So for the Gen Z crowd listening to this, there's got to be one of you.
Do you think we have Gen Z listening to us?
Yes, but anyway, so to our Gen Z listeners, this is what we did before internet memes. Is just get together with your buddies and quote either Anchorman or Team America at each other for hours.
Occasionally Step Brothers.
Eh, occasionally Step Brothers.
Why are you sweating? I was watching Cops.
And Tropic Thunder and Super Bad.
I was not much of a Superbad guy myself.
Honestly, I like Superbad better than Step Brothers. Just not a huge Step Brothers guy.
No, that's fair. You know what's heresy that I'm about to say?
Tread lightly, but go ahead.
I do not like The Hangover.
It overstayed its welcome as a series. And the one thing that bothers me about the first Hangover movie, where the fuck did the chicken come from?
It was one of those films that was like super popular in my school. And I don't know. I thought it was fine. I thought there were definitely parts in it that were funny, but just how many times can you hear the exact same quote in a given day and in a given week for months on end before it's
Before you
like,
snap.
yes. At least when I quote Team America, it's maybe like once a week and it's on this fucking show here. But yeah. You don't see me quoting fucking Anchorman every single day.
I might. I am a man. I am an anchor man.
I prefer the that really got out of hand quickly.
Somehow I knew that was going to become an internet meme before it actually became an internet meme. But
That really got out of hand.
is Anchorman a war movie?
No.
But it's a war on gender
No.
roles and
No.
gender. Fuck
No.
you.
No.
Fuck you. You just don't understand, John.
You're right, I don't.
But what was I gonna say? A joke I had to have explained to me in Anchorman. This Mexican restaurant they keep going to. I don't remember what the title is, but if you translate it from Spanish, it means "we spit in your food."
That is fun. Speaking of Mexican restaurants, I got tickets to Casa Bonita.
Oh hell yeah! Wait, tickets?
Yeah, it's a ticket system.
I suppose since the demand is so high.
Yeah, so if you want to go to Casa Bonita now, you have to put in a reservation. Basically, you put your email in for a random drawing, and then anywhere from 1 week to 18 months, they will send you a reply saying, okay, these are the dates that you can make a reservation with us.
That's brutal.
But it is nice that they do it on a ticket system. So, like, you buy your ticket, you show up, and then you just experience it. So it's not like, oh, what am I going like there's still you choose what you're going to get like off the menu or whatnot, but you're not like, oh well, the enchiladas cost this much, so I think I'll get the burrito instead. No, like it's just it's a flat rate. You get in and you fucking experience Casa Bonita.
Man, yeah. Every day, my dream of seeing Casa Bonita recedes further. It's eluded me then, but it's no matter.
What you just gotta do is put your name on the fucking email list, and then resolve that when you get on the list that you'll just come out here.
So they've had to have turned a profit since then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because yeah, they were bitching about all the costs they sunk into it, but there's no way they haven't made that up by now.
Dude, it's been so popular that the first time we this is the second time we've gotten a reservation for it. The first time we signed up for it, we used 4 email accounts, and it took a year before we got a notice.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah.
I do applaud them for shirking the tipping system and just paying their employees like what, $30 an hour.
Yeah, they give them a legit reasonable wage.
Yeah, respectable.
It's funny because if you go to their website, occasionally they'll have like job openings and whatnot, but they don't have they have standard job openings like cook, waiter, whatever. But then they also have stuff that's like close-up magician, puppeteer, like just all sorts of nonsensical bullshit.
Tell me you applied for the puppeteer position.
No.
Come on. Oh wait, you're more of a cliff diver guy, ain't you?
Yeah, I am a cliff diver. Also, cliff diving, very entertaining.
So do they just have dedicated cliff divers? Do they like,
Yeah.
or do they like ask the waiters and cooks to do it or something?
No, like that's a job that people like every half hour they have someone jump off a fucking cliff.
Every half hour? I thought it was like a more regular than that.
Well, it's like a show almost.
Gotcha.
So like every half hour there's like a 5 minute thing where it's like sometimes it's just like one person or there'll be like two people that come out and do like a tango dance and then jump off the fucking cliff together. Stuff like that.
Man, this like I feel like I've always known this place was real, but it just sounds so surreal to me. Like,
It it boggles the mind, honestly. I want to go there with you someday.
man, yeah, it's my dream. I just have to go there.
Well, you keep dreaming, and until next time, America.
Fuck yeah.
Anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. The stars do matter. If you want additional content from us, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all those good places. Jack, do you have anything else?
The official stance of the Armchair Commanders podcast is against human trafficking.
Yes, thank you for reiterating that. We
And
are
if there are any accusations about me floating around out there, they are liars and they are false.
anti-human trafficking, and we are also pro inclusivity and cultural awareness.
Except for the British.
Don't tell them that. I'm trying to get Rob back.
I'm kidding. British are allowed.
Rob,
No
if you're
Irish,
listening,
though.
we love you.
I'm kidding. Irish allowed.
I was going to say we need to get Rick back too.
Let me just ruin our whole viewership.
I was going to say half of our fucking guests are British. We can't
The
keep
other
talking.
half are Southern.
I do declare
Yeah,
the Queen's English is mighty superior.
I'm still in the camp that you're operating this fucking conspiracy trying to collaborate the American South with the British to overthrow our democracy.
Well, until next week, I've been John.
And I'm Jack, and I'm on to you.
Okay, whatever.
Bye.